So, hello, David. How are you?
Good morning, Marie. I'm fine. Can you hear me just fine?
Yes, perfectly.
Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
Well, it's lovely
Beautiful.
to see you both.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you too.
Yeah, it's really nice.
You're
It's always
such
nice.
you're such a sweet couple.
You're our sweet adopted grandfather,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
but equal.
Equal. That's right. The age doesn't make a difference. It just gives more information from both sides.
Yes, exactly. So, do you want to give a short presentation to who you are, how we met, maybe perhaps?
My name is David Rumi. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I was born in the United States in Appalachia, and I spent 7 years in England, which was very exciting for me. And I'm very happy now to be a Canadian citizen and especially to live also in Vancouver. Marie said, how did we meet? Well, we met through connection. And I believe we have a connection to everyone, start with, but we also are blessed with being connected in ways we can't fully explain to certain people who become very significant to me, like the two of you. And what brought us together was working together with some poems that I had written. These poems happened to be mystical poems. There are 18 of them. And Marie, dear soul, embossed them with very artistic work. And we had to work together for a long time on that to get all this going. And so we made a connection there. And I did spend my life's work in Jungian, Carl Jung, psychotherapy. But I retired quite a while ago, and I've been able to explore interests like my writing, my poetry, my art since that time, and that's been very fulfilling. I didn't think that, I always thought I would be a therapist until I died, and I couldn't envision anything else. But when it happened to me that I was forced to retire for health reasons, I found that there was another life awaiting me. And this was a great learning. And along with that, another life were other people and very significant people. And COVID-19 virus shutdown and episode, I've been able to really go into some of those interests full scale. And one of the interests was in finding out more about my ancestry with the aim of self-discovery, because it wasn't just a personal examination focused around me as a person. It was my connection with my own DNA and the people who had formed me and whose legacy I am, and my connection also to the historical periods in which they lived. So I am a writer. And all these things give me a way to express myself.
That's very beautiful. Thank you. It's very yeah, you had a very interesting life, and it's a pleasure and an honor to that life brought us together and that we are able to share um, at this period of time, because we share a lot of the same interest, like the care for other and the well-being of others is something that is central for the three of us. And we express it differently, and we have different roots and very different journeys, because we have some generations that are separating us. I would say about two. So it's really something that I found quite unique and interesting, to be able to have that, to cover a large spectrum of life and of age and of very different roots that brought us together. So
You didn't tell us anything about your coming from France originally.
oh,
Mhm.
okay, I can go if I. So yeah, I arrived in Vancouver in 2019 at the end of the year, and I before that I was in France. I studied a little bit at two different universities. I was in Paris, but I grew up in the countryside in Britain, which was very. I'm very blessed to have grown up there, because it's a very beautiful countryside in France, and there's a lot of beautiful alignment, coincidences, and synchronicities in my path with art and artists and movements. And I studied philosophy, literature, history, and languages in the University of Nanterre in Paris, which is an historical university. A lot of things happen there, so it's charged with a lot of history. And well, the city itself, it's very interesting and amazing. When you are interested in the arts, you really have a lot of things to discover there, and history is everywhere. So I really enjoyed that, and then I studied only philosophy, and but I found myself uh, feeling limited by academia. So I went a little bit of my own route. I was working to make a living, not in at all in my field. I was working in restaurants as a waitress and as a cook, because my parents own a restaurant, so it was an easy route for me to go and to be able to leave my art on the side. So I've always work with a group of students in the fine art schools and do performance. I also have a background of dance. I've been 12 years classical ballet dancer. I sing a lot. I try also painting and drawing, and I love that. And so, and I found myself studying, for me also, the art and philosophical history of dance, which took me a year. I really studied a lot of different movements and different authors that already discovered and talked and wrote about this topic, philosophy of dance, that is very interesting, like Paul Valéry and other French, mostly French and English philosophers. And yeah, so because I'm an artist and I'm trying to make my way as an artist, I've encountered people during open microphones and that type of events that allows people that are outside of academia or conservatory to meet with other musicians. And I've been able to meet a beautiful friend from Vancouver that invited me here, and that's why I came here.
Lovely.
And yeah. It's a really blessed journey. I've also visited a lot of the countryside of France. I've been able to do a lot of woofing, so try to learn how to work with the land. And as you were saying, you had a beautiful time to connect with your ancestry and to understand where you come from, given the background and the historical journeys of your ancestry. And I know, because my brother did my genealogic ancestry when he was very young, I know I know that I come from a very peasant background. I have a lot of humble peasants in my genealogical trees, my both genealogical trees. And so yeah, I'm also very connected to nature and to the soil and to healthy, beautiful things that nature offer us. And so yeah, that's who I am. And I'm also very blessed to, like, I love translation. I translated David's poetry, and it was an amazing journey. It was really very profound. Um, it also unlocked my poetry writing. I had started to write poetry a few years ago, very recently, but it really got me, like, that work and really opened me to my own writing. And so I'm writing a book right now. So it's very, very beautiful. A lot of things happened since we met, David, and you're not stranger to all the little things that made me evolved, like you have influenced me in the good way.
Thank you.
Jordi, it's your turn now.
Yeah. And well, I'm Jordi, and I come from Mexico City. I arrived to Canada, to Vancouver, in February of 2019. I came here to study because I'm a musician. I'm an audio engineer, and I came to study a diploma on sound design for visual media. That it's production of sound for animation, film, and every media that is visual. Video games can be as well. And what can I say about me? Well, my family, all my family, it's from it's Mexican. I have ancestry from Spain, from my mother's side and my father's side. The grandfather of my grandfathers. They was both families that came from Spain to Mexico, and then they started family here, and then that's kind of, I know that I have that root, but I don't feel in this particular moment to go super deep into my ancestry, but I know that I know that at some point in life, a journey and a path is going to open to discover even more of my roots. But I know that in my DNA there's a lot of music in me. My grandfather played the accordion, accordion, and the guitar, and he thought all his children to play at least an instrument. So almost all my uncles play an instrument, and my father, he always loved the music, and he plays a lot of instruments. And when I was young, he gave me I started piano lessons like at 6. And then he gave me a little guitar when I was 7, but I just tried it and I didn't like it, and I didn't pay attention to the guitar until I was 8. And at school, one friend took his guitar to the class, and he started playing, and all the little girls from school were drawn to that. And I thought oh, that's interesting. So I came back to my home and I grabbed the guitar and I just started. I remembered I had a visual memory of my dad putting some certain fingers on the guitar. So I just tried to imitate that, and I learned by that, just by imitating my father's movement. And after that, I
At 14, something happened.
Well, I mean, after I played bass, and then I learned how to play drums at 12. Always self-taught. And then at 14, I learned to do beatboxing. That it's an art form that it's imitating or creating sounds with your vocal throat, your vocal cords, your throat, your tongue, your mouth, to create patterns that can be rhythmic or melodic in the to achieve music with my mouth. And also sounds like birds and wind and water, and it's something that I really love, because any idea that pops or comes to mind, there's no filter to express it, because the only connection is from here to here. So it's really easy to just let an idea flow and deliver it without the need of any tool, because it's a really fast connection. And with that talent, I met Marie and at an open mic, because I used to love to perform in especially in little places that are like it's a more cozy environment.
Soulful.
Yeah, Soulful. And Marie was singing there, and I was gonna perform after, and that's how we met. And through Marie, I met also David, because Marie was translating David's poetry, and then here we are, the three of us.
And can I just interject, because I had a beautiful thread of thoughts connecting to beatboxing. I found it fascinating on the synchronicity level, because it's rather new, like the really act of singing with those sounds, but it's originated. The roots are very deep into our humanity ancestry, because so the Papou, and we still have some tribes that are talking with those like sound, like imitating nature. Sorry, patterns with their mouth, and they communicate like that. And beatboxing is taking that ancient root and bringing it to the future and further, because it's inventing new ones, or making them or transforming them into rhythmic patterns that are really exceptional, and that are going very far into discovering. And it seems almost endless. Like there is as many way of making a sound as there is beatboxers, and it's a beautiful community that is worldwide. And the people that are the musicians that are performing beatbox, they're exchanging, they're learning with each other, they're exchanging tricks, but they always have a little different rendering of the sounds, because we all have unique features, and jaw bones and tongues and throats and voices. So I think it's an amazing art form that is, it started in the 80s or 90s, no?
No, it started, well, like the word itself and how it started was in the late 70s.
Yeah.
In the, I think, if I'm correct, in Brooklyn, because there was people that they didn't have, they couldn't afford to buy an instrument, and they wanted to do music, and they started to try to imitate drum patterns with their mouth, especially rappers. Yeah, they wanted like a bass, like a rhythmic bass, to recite their, well, sometimes poetry, some like or lyrics, and that's how it kind of became beatboxing. But yeah, I mean, I think the roots are pretty old. There's not a lot of information about it, but I would love to know the way we use it nowadays. I'm pretty sure it's quite new, like the combinations of sounds and how we use them, and the rhythms have been evolved a lot. But a lot of people in the beatbox community, they claim like, oh, I this sound is mine. No, I discovered this sound, or I learned this sound and I shared it. But I would love to know, like, I'm pretty certain that sometime in period of history, there was some man that could talk with birds and could do that same sound, and it was like an ability he had. But I mean, it was just something that maybe he could have a deep connection. But and then somehow the pattern repeated and it got evolved into something else. But I would love to know if,
Yeah, and of all the tribes and all
yeah,
all the different tribes that might have expressed themselves to just communicate with one another with sounds, and all, like, in all mankind history and all eras and all the different eras in the world, geographically. I'm sure every sound has already been probably discovered, or but it's a new way of assembling them in a musical way, and that, I think, that's what is very interesting and beautiful
yeah.
innovation.
Very glad to know you as a new composer. And I very much enjoyed listening to one of your pieces, which was about a half an hour long. And it took me to very deep places. And I'm not going to try to explain that, but just to say it's analogous to the effect of music in general on our psyches, and analogous to uh, the creative aspect of the human being. I lost my thought there for a minute. And so we come together, and I believe I've already observed some themes that are very deep. And that is the connection of humanity with each other, human beings with each other, and the fact that when one becomes two or even three, then creativity is generated. And I believe that none of us would be the same if we had not met, including the two of you. And so we started Journey, and you could say that recording this grew out of that, the excitement that we felt. And Marie asked if we could do this. The excitement that we felt with the discoveries that two or three could make that never one could make. And that was like building something for the future. And even these archetypal roots that we spoke about, they're really also connected to the future, because they're what we've been given and what we want to pass on and what will be passed on in art forms, for example. I want to comment on another thing, and that is that Jordi was nice in revealing that he had been inspired at an early age by the feminine. I think that this is a characteristic of the human experience, that the so-called soul figure, or anima, as Jung called it, is really the source of our generativity and our creativeness. And it's not limited to men, because this will sound really strange, but women also have an inner psychic figure who is inspiring to them and leads them on journeys. And it's both feminine, and there's also a masculine, a kind of spirit figure. Well, that's one way to put it. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that the sources of inspiration are can be as multiple or different or various, but they all come back to the same roots also, or the archetypal that are archetypes that are similars. And I think I'm trying to think about what inspired me in life, and I think encounters are the main one. I really believe. I mean, as a child, I was very natural. Let's say I love to be in nature and to just discover and look at things, observe, and very contemplative and playful child as well. I remember playing a lot of. I was playing with myself most of the time because I have two brothers, but that are interested in different things, and we were playing together. But I was playing a lot also alone, and I remember playing a game of being surrounded with animals and having to save them from a flood or a natural catastrophe or something like that. And we were in nature and I had to gather food. And so that was very interesting. Probably some collective psyche and collective inconscience infusing already in my little being. But then I remember the first time I drew something, it was my grandfather was really passionate and interested by birds, and had books about birds. And they had a beautiful home in nature, close to the beginning of a river, close to the seaside, and with a big garden and a lot of birds, a lot of little animals, squirrels. And he was always telling us, "Oh, so you hear that sound? That is a okay." So that's where my knowledge in English birds name stops, but I'm going to tell them in French because I know them in French. So rouge-gorge or merle or mésange, and so we would see them, we would feed them on the big deck that they had. And so he had those books. And one time I said, okay, I like to draw, but I don't think I'm good. And when I tried drawing with myself or my own inspiration, I never succeed something. So I'm going to try to. They had beautiful pictures of those birds, so I'm going to try to draw that bird. And I did it perfectly. It was super beautiful. It was looking really alike at the picture. And I was, oh, I have a talent here. That's amazing. How can I didn't thought I could draw ever. And when I draw with myself, it doesn't look beautiful. It looks like I'm 5 years old. I am 5 years old. And so I wonder here where could that come from? Imitation of nature somehow can inspire us and lead us to have this beautiful and this ended up in that drawing that I was very proud of, and I showed it to my grandmother almost as astonished as, oh, I did that. Can you imagine? I did that. Really looks like the original. And I didn't, and then I stopped drawing for years, and I found those drawing again later in my life, and I was like, they're very good actually. So it was very interesting. So that was kind of the first inspiration, my grandfather figure and his love for nature. And I think later on, every time I started to study or to go to a new idea of art or trying or experimentation in art, it was really because I met someone new and they were interested in something, or they were themselves. Life brought me a lot of artists in my life, and every time something like such an encounter occurred, I really went exploring, or I felt that my mind would open to new things, or things that were already in germination, but open to new threads and to new possibilities. And that is that way that I expand and that I journeyed. I have that very open mindset, and I never planned my life on the future. I'm always open to see what's happening and where I'm going to be led. Now I want to plan a little bit more because I've journeyed that path of just, going from encounter to threads to new persons to to new ways of expressing and of sharing, and learning as well, reading a lot of books, and I have that with music too. I like the memory of of a song that someone introduced me to, and I can I love that song because I remember that person show me that song. And in our generation, and because of internet and of all the tools that we have, we are a generation of, well, we have a lot of flows, but I don't want to focus on this now. I want to focus on the beautiful things that we are able to do, and sharing art, sharing culture, sharing what makes us human, sharing beautiful things is one of the things that is amazingly augmented, I think, by the technology that we use and that we have access to now. And yeah,
one of the things that we're fortunate to have is that Jordi has the technology for us to carry out this project.
yes.
And so he really complements our personalities with that knowledge. And we all, in a sense, complement each other that way. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. It's beautiful. We need to be able to interject and have, otherwise I don't want to do a monologue here. I'm capable too, but that's not the point.
Believe me, it could be interesting.
I don't know if the soliloquy of Marie would be very interesting. Maybe it can be interesting, but at some point I think I would, maybe not. I would go to, I really love to be able to share and to have ideas that are crossing, because that's how ideas are springing, and interesting things are that's what you said. If the abilities that we have to share and to be in connection, and the way that we can share ideas, if we were alone, if we were not the three of us or both of or the two of us, it would be way different and way less fruitful, or I think.
And now those who may be our audience in the future, you see how the soup has been stirred. The ingredients are getting mixed.
Yes.
Forming patterns. And I know we as a threesome hope others will enjoy this. This is really why we're doing it, basically.
Yes.
Is that it may bring joy to others and remind others of their life experiences and their connections and their encounters.
Yes. Yeah, I think one of the things that pushed us, or that animated us to do this and to record it and to share it was, you mentioned the COVID situation and isolation, and a lot of people took it as a great opportunity to do wonderful things and to spring. But you have also a lot of people that find themselves isolated, recluded, and depressed by this situation, and by the uncertainty of the future. I think the future is always uncertain. We can only project that much, but now the sensation of it is become more real for some people that maybe didn't see it as vivid as now. And I think that the fact that 3% that met each other since 2 years' time, and have very different backgrounds, different ages, are able to come together, share things, meet regularly. And I know personally that after each of our conversation, we started a few weeks ago now, maybe 2 months already. After each conversation, I feel, when you feel full of good food, and, you feel nurtured and sustained, and your body and your mind and your soul feels just refreshed and joyous, and really fulfilled by a beautiful moment of sharing with friends and with other beings that are rich and interesting. And so I think if there is a, a virtue in our encounter, other than us sharing beautiful thoughts and idea and memories, it's really that it can have a at some length, maybe we hope that it can touch someone out there and that it can help that person see, have a different perspective, and get out of the darkness that may occur in one's life, that occurs in everyone's life, I believe. And yeah, if that can have a little healing or a little light in the dark, that would be a great achievement for the three of us, I believe.
We sometimes talk about dreams, which is something that I have actually observed and explored with experts like Jungian analysts and friends over the course of my adult life, and recorded them and, in a sense, worked on them. And so I began to ask myself, did I have a dream this morning that pertains to what we're doing? And I have had a few dreams this week which anticipated the event. It's quite a big event. And I started off life as no, I started life as in my childhood at that level as a rather shy and quiet person. And so that's going to be good background to say what I dreamed. It kind of dreamed this morning because after spending so much creative time with documents and facts about ancestors and their struggles in life and what they stood for, I know now that since I'm only 81, that I better get started on the future too. And you two are part of the future, partly because of your age, and partly because anything about me that was valuable is going to have some little place in your hearts, and as you have in mind. That's the future. And the future is, for me, creating a document which is the embodiment of relationship and relationships. And people talk about the COVID crisis and they realize that they have been neglecting relationships. They've been too busy, they think, for relationships. But with Zoom and other capacities, we have now begun relating to people with a great deal of our time. It's true of me, a great deal of our time. And my desire is that something that I did or was in this life will, if it was okay, that it will contribute to the future. So the study of the past has only been a way for me to form material that will encourage others to do this, and also be documentation and resources for people who want to follow up on this, like my other relatives. And many of them are not too interested, and that's just fine with me. It's so, but I feel that I am carrying a debt to those in the past who, through the DNA and genetics, have formed a sort of character for me. I had nurture too. And so Jordi's music is an example of the future. See, and in the book by Gibran called The Prophet, he talks about our children as something like arrows that we release, and that we can't inhabit our children's world, and we must leave them free to discover it, because we're incapable of knowing the future in the same way that they are going to know it and they're going to embody it. And so it's all sort of part of a whole, in my opinion.
That's very beautiful and beautifully expressed, David.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I was thinking about my dream of this morning because it was there was a lot of threads of what you expressed that were in, and the relation with past, future, and present, and history also. And it was very, I think I'm going to share it because it was very interesting.
Please.
I was in the beach of where my grandparents had their home, Carfani, that's the name of the place. And I was with a friend. I was playing I don't know if it's a trumpet or it's a tuba, that goes like this and go back up.
Saxophone.
Yeah, he was playing the saxophone and I was singing, and there was a man living there and that had access to a boat that was a tourist boat, but a boat that he would store every night in his place, and that he would rebuild, or it was a foldable boat, but it was an old sailing boat in wood, and that we would create and build the veil he would do that every day, create the veil. And with a system there was 4 pikes, and the veil were flat on, like, tended in between those 4 pikes in a rectangle square in the top of the boat, and he would pass some cords, boots on the 4 sides and the 4 corners, and somehow the veil would, and the sailing veil would be created through that manipulation. And there was a lot of people there, a lot of beings that I don't know of, and also beings from my past, old friends that were there. And we were all going on that boat, and my friend was playing the sax, and we were like kind of engaged with my friends to go and do the musical entertainment on the boat. So he was playing the saxophone and I was singing with him. And it's a friend that exists, that is a friend from high school, Gauthier, his name. And it was super exciting. We were going on the sea, and it was very beautiful. And there was, those people were very happy to be together. And at some point, we come back, and I go on a path under the beach, and there's a cave under the beach, and there's a woman that is writing history, and she's writing history that is linked to Tolkien and to the Lord of the Rings. I have that in my psyche because I read it a lot and I looked a lot at the movies, and that's something that formed my youth. And I have a lot of respect for Tolkien. I think he's, an amazing writer. There's a lot of beautiful things in his art piece and the world that he created. And so this woman was writing this history pieces about, and that were linked with the Lord of the Ring in some way. So it was very interesting. It was my past to past of humanity, many threads with music, and it was it was very. I always go to very different and amazing and surprising places in my dreams. I must say, it's I have a lot to to analyze and to interpret.
Well, hearing your dream stimulated a lot of images in my mind. Was that true of you, Jordi, too?
Yeah, it's there. It's a lot vivid, and I'm very visual, and I could also see that.
Yes, it was exciting, and although this is called dream analysis in Jungian terms, it's a misnomer because it's not really analysis. It's letting the dream speak to our souls, and in that exercise, we are, as James Hillman, a Jungian analyst, said, we are soul making. So we live in a very modern period of time in which these things of the past, of people making bird sounds, and are almost lost. And we are rediscovering them now, and it's an attempt, I think, of the world soul to balance out that we've gone too far in the rationalistic and reductive side.
Yeah.
And that we need to return to our roots in the soul, you know.
And what you say is making so much sense, and the perspective I have, and with being a social person in my youth, and having a lot of friends from my generation. And I think being attracted, I think you were attracted somehow with people that have likeness in your being most of the time, even more so when you're young, because you're very intuitive, or you're still connected with your subconscious. And so I met a lot of people that were artists, that were connected to nature, that liked technology, but that take the best of it, and kept a beautiful sense of being attached and bounding with nature and with ourselves. And it's funny, because I a few years before I met Jordi, I've always done sound with my mouth, but a few years before I met Jordi, I've lived a little bit in big cities for studying and working employment reasons, and I've started not caring anymore about how people perceive me, and just doing bird sounds and talking to birds in the streets, and just and being very connected, and when people meet me like that, usually they're astonished, and I just tell them, I think that's one of the best therapeutical exercise, or way of expressing, like just being completely like a childlike nature, and connected with what is happening around you, because you're discovering. Oh, yesterday I was outside, and I saw 3 eagles in our sky, because we neighbor together with David, and I saw 3 eagles. Can you imagine that? And I showed them to many people that I crossed paths with, because I was my nose in the air. And then, look, there's eagles. And an old little lady that looked, and I said, oh yeah, I would have never seen it. Thank you so much. And, I think that's something that is so important, because just it fills your soul. I mean, I don't know if it's true for everybody. To me, it's like it's rejuvenate me. makes me going back to what is important, what is making me feel alive and happy, and it's just so fulfilling. It's so simple. It's available for everyone at every point in time, and you can just go outside and just start listening to birds, and that makes you feel connected to everything that makes you human and to hope. And so yeah.
Sometimes when I talk with birds, I get the sense that by the tone of my voice and my inner desire to communicate with them, that they pick up something from that. You know, you've had that experience too?
Yeah.
Oh, and I saw yesterday that there's this device that some musicians and scientists and developers, researchers have been working for, I think, 40 years. That is now available. That it's called Music of the Plants. That it's a little device, a little box that you just put like a little cable that goes into a plant, into his how do you call
the pot?
into the pot, and it reads the electrical signals of the plant that translates into that little box that has a little speaker, and it reproduces notes, musical notes, depending on the electrical signal that the plants are selling, so that sometimes they can sing, and if you play music with it, they change, and it's like if the plants are singing with you. And I found that it's so astonishing
So
and so
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. It seems to be that our world is discovering a different view of man and his place in the world. But this is coming very slowly because we have it deeply ingrained in us that we're the top of the order.
Yeah, and there's it's connected to that also. I think I thought about that right away. I have a friend that is participating in the Sea Shepherd movement. And so they are activist people going to the sea and trying to protect animals from being eradicated from the sea. And they have a new weapon that is a very beautiful, because it's a very non-violent weapon. They have been able to reproduce the sounds of whales. They recorded them in the deeper sea. And they recorded their discussion, and they mixed them and they mashed them up into a very huge sound, and they are playing it and diffusing it in the sea to warn whales and animals and to make them flee away from the boats that are doing, this awful fishing that is very destructive and that are, and so to save those species that are in danger by that type of very aggressive fishing. They're diffusing that sound, and that's an alert signal, and the whale are leaving the area and flying away. So I found it very beautiful how we can ally with nature and help them.
Yes. And this brings me to another aspect of our context. And in most things programs that start in BC, we acknowledge that we are on the unceded, ancient, and holy territory of the First Nations and other peoples who would be considered like them. And so I'm doing that now. I'm saying that for our production, we're acknowledging this. And you're speaking of the fish, reminded me of a First Nations person whom I love as a friend very much. And he does drumming. And his people in British Columbia depend for their annual livelihood on the fish. And this is something that we could neglect to focus in our minds. They're dependent. And some of the fishing practices are against the fish and therefore against these people's way of survival.
Yeah.
And people are active on this, and it's an issue in Canada because some of the Quaker people that I know are protesting the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Well, the reason for this is that an oil spill in the pipeline could contaminate the whole watershed of the whole western part of Canada. And that could, of course, kill the fish, of course,
Yeah.
and lots of other things. So this is the future, isn't it? Is becoming more aware of our place, that
Yeah.
we're not just the top of the order.
No.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say that I don't know why well, Marie was saying that probably was because of the full moon. That I feel a little bit tired since I woke up. Like my energy is a little bit down. But yesterday, I don't know if you saw the moon, but well,
Yes.
it was the full moon. But when I saw it, like at around 9, I think it was the biggest I've seen it in my life. It looked so close from the earth that it even looked like fake. It looked like a holographic placement
Projection of
in
the
the sky because it was so big, and I tried to capture it with my phone, but it's really hard to achieve a good photograph of the moon without like professional equipped cameras.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really amazing.
Yeah, it's nice to meet somebody who's moon drunk.
Yeah.
Well, okay, there was one thing that I thought of during the break.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you too, Marie, if you thought of something during the break. What I thought of during the break was that Marie would sing.
Oh.
After all, it was the first time I was physically present in the same room with Marie. And we had this huge discussion and all these ideas and everything. And then she offered to sing a song. And it was about 20 people there. It was very beautiful. And we could listen into a jam session, so to speak.
Mhm.
Before you go cook lunch, could you just give a little more beatboxing to us?
Oui. Maybe we can combine. Maybe we can. We have a song that is in preparation together. Our first beatbox and singing song.
Oh.
And yeah, and so maybe we can do the just a little bit of everything is still. Yeah. So I'm not warmed up, so it's gonna be very raw, and the song is not completely like ready. So it's a premiere rehearsal session that we offer you.
Well, this would be wonderful. Do you have time to do that, Jordi?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to shut my eyes.
Everything is still moving forward. For thy eyes are crystal clear. clearing all dark thoughts away, 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 away. Is shining, shining, shine, 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 shine peace. The narrowest path, passing through life as the light is traveling with thunder, thundering under the skin. There is light of life flowing in deep. God indeed, God is all in the all, loving all, everything is still moving forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel moved away from trying to, sort of like give a kind of connecting link mentally from the things that we're doing together. This has moved me out of that space. And well, you could probably see it in my face.
Yeah, I had my eyes closed for a time, but you seem to enjoy it beyond and to just have let it go. It's beautiful. It's the feeling we want to create, I think.
Yes. Well, we were considering whether, since our friend Jordi is busy today with his creativity, he's doing with another person, that whether Marie and I would go on, or whether we've sort of finished for today. How do you feel, Marie?
I think either way is fine for me. It's a beautiful way to finish it with a song. And we have already an hour, more or less, a little bit more than an hour recorded. So it's a beautiful length.
That would be excellent. It seems like we're in sync with each other.
Yes, that's beautiful. Well, then, thank you if you have listened to us on the internet. And yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.